くのうちに会いに行っちゃえ予定上は邪魔者はいないドキドキの日々の中で聞こえてきた恋の予感ときめきへと染まってゆく金色ストーリー始めよう矛盾だらけの美徳でちょうどいいかも恋のルートでなんて人だってバレちゃってしょうがない最高にハッピーな出会いだって決めちゃったなら言ってないね最大のボリュームで愛にフェイクな名前をつけてあげようそうだですって疑いな衝動もラッキーパンチみたいなロマンスの風にときめいちゃってもうたまらないもうたまらないサガプラネッツ金色ラブリッチェ
Hello everyone, it's me again, and today we are starting a new visual novel, and that visual novel is Kinkoi, Golden Loveriche. This VN was developed by Saga Planets, and it's the first Saga Planets VN that was translated into English. As you can see, it's a VN where all of the heroines have blonde hair, but I didn't choose this VN because I have a fetish for blonde hair or anything. I chose it because supposedly it's pretty good. Kinkoi was released in Japan in 2017 for the PC, in 2020 for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita, and this year, 2021, for the Nintendo Switch. The English version was published by Nekonyan and released this year as well, back in June if I'm not mistaken. The PC version that we are going to read is also an eroge, so it has explicit sex scenes, which of course I'll have to cut out, as always. If you want to buy this VN yourself, you can do so on Steam or directly on Nekonyan's website. The Steam version doesn't have any sex scenes though. If you want those, you have to patch them back in, which you can do with a patch that is available on Nekonyan's website for free. So without further ado, let's start, shall we? With a prologue. What are they looking at? This looks like a ring box. So is it a ring? It's definitely gold. That golden color was where it all began. The aurous contents of that box marked the start of a golden time. That's my gift to you. That was how I was able to speak to that girl. And what sparked my first love. Gold was the only thing I desired. That golden color, a pure, completely uncontaminated brilliance. Crystal clear and pristine, that was the sort of person I strove to be, and nothing more.
じゃあどうして俺たちを裏切ったんだよ。
What?
オロくんどうして
Just once, all I ever wanted was to take one confident step forward and be proud of everything I'd done. It's not like I wanted to show off. That was never the plan. So, Oh. Hang on tight. I never thought something like this would happen to me. It was easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment sometimes, right? Anyone would have done the same if they thought they were doing the right thing, which was how I'd got myself mixed up in this mess. No way was I trying to show off. I was simply playing along with this strange turn of events. All I wanted was to be golden. And as a result, I found myself sprinting through town with a girl dressed in a beautiful gown in my arms.
待て、待ちなさい君。
止まれ
Is she a princess? She looks like a princess. Nga! Stop following me! By the way, isn't oro the Spanish word for gold?
あらあら
Didn't this kind of thing happen to everyone? Actually, running around with a blonde-haired girl in my arms might actually be a rare occurrence. Still, I believed it could happen to anyone. Getting carried away in the heat of the moment. Letting events transpire where you end up showing off. Emptying your mind and making the most of the golden opportunities presented to you in that moment. By the way, if you wanted to know how I ended up in this situation,
話しなさい
I heard someone shout while I was walking through town.
話して私にはやらねばならない使命があるの
A mission? Before I had the chance to search for that voice? Bam! We ran into each other. Oh, excuse me.
いえこちらこそ
I thought she was a cute girl at first glance. Not only was she cute, but her outfit left one hell of an impact. Judging by her outfit, I assumed she'd just come from some sort of ceremony. Upon her head sat a gem-encrusted tiara, which appeared to be quite heavy. To top it all off, she had a gorgeous figure and facial features. More than anything else, I was captivated by her almost otherworldly golden blonde hair. Her long hair was almost as brilliant as the sun itself. But not a moment later.
お待ちください。
I, or the girl who bumped into me to be precise, was surrounded by more than 10 men in black suits. Now there's a woman too though. She shot them a hostile glare upon their arrival. And they cautiously stepped toward me.
こっちへ来なさい。おとなしくして。
おかしな動作をするなよ。
Being spoken to in such a rude and pompous tone made me wary. The man had already drawn close, put his hand into his breast pocket, and just as he retrieved a certain black object, "Come with me!" I didn't think I was in the wrong to take that girl by the hand and run away. Well, after giving it some deeper thought, it may have been hasty to assume they were drawing guns from their breast pockets in a society as gun-averse as Japan.
マルタイ飛ぼう。至急応援を頼む。
He may have actually pulled out a transceiver, but either way, I ran for it. Violent-looking men were chasing a girl. Wouldn't anyone would want to assure her safety first? As such, I didn't believe I had done anything wrong. Can you not run?
ごめんなさいヒールが高くて
She lifted up the hem of her dress and her heels definitely weren't cut out for running. Har! Hang on tight. We'd be in big trouble if she got hurt running in those heels. That much was obvious. As such, I only did what came naturally. I believed I had simply gone with the flow in the heat of the moment, but
待てー。姫様を話しなさい。待てくれガキ。
there's so many of them. This was a surprise turn of events. In the blink of an eye, what started out as only a handful of men quickly multiplied into the hundreds. If this kept up, I would run out of stamina and they would eventually catch up. Was it actually a good idea for me to run away in the first place? She wasn't resisting me in the slightest, so I assumed I hadn't made the wrong choice, but just to make sure, you do want to get away from those people, right?
そうね。今捕まるわけにはいかないわ。
If that's how she felt, then I guess it was okay. Hop! It would be bad if this turned into an endurance contest. I turned off the main road and slipped through back alleys, partially to throw them off.
おっと
おい踏むな。
Even though their huge convoy attempted to keep up. We are pushing through. Hang on tight. I sped up in an instant. Was I showing off by telling her to hang on tight? Well, whatever.
シルビー、
お
デラックスメロンパン買えた？
Gal.
あれ？
Huh, huh.
大丈夫かしら？
A little out of breath, I guess. Huh, huh.
お待ちください
Shit, they're persistent. Isn't there anywhere to hide? Somewhere nearby. After weaving through the back alleys of the shopping district, we eventually found ourselves near Hamamatsu Lake. Uh-oh, this spelled trouble. The perfect visibility and lack of roads more or less made us sitting ducks.
隠れるところ。一つ心当たりがあるけど。
Where?
あちらよ。
Alright. With her guiding the way, we headed towards the lake. This was. We came across a hill near Hamamatsu Lake. Given the abundant thickets, it looked like a great place to hide. Ha.
ここまで甘えてしまって恐縮だけど、私一人で走れるわ。
But your heels.
この靴じゃね。
She slipped out of my arms, gave me a quick wink, whoosh, then removed her heels and tucked them like they were nothing. She rolled up her gown and tied it roughly, yet securely in place.
さあ、行きましょうか。
Sure. She took no issue with getting her beautiful silken socks dirty, much less rolling up her dress into a ball at her side. An outdated word popped into my mind. Tomboy.
そうそう、忘れてた。自己紹介しなくちゃ。シルビアよ。シルビア・ル・クルスクラウン。
Sylvia Le Cruz Crown. Right. She introduced herself with a smile while sprinting with all her might. A single glance at her face instantly told me she was a foreigner. The manner in which she curtsied and bowed her head was elegant, and all while running.
シルビーと呼んでちょうだい。
Oh, it's Oro. Ichimatsu Oro.
ほら、素敵。私の国で黄金という意味だわ。
Oh, so is she from Spain? Or maybe Portugal? Oh, thanks. Sylvie seemed pretty chill for someone who was being chased by kidnappers. In any case, we kept making our way swiftly down the road. Incidentally, where did this path lead? Actually, why was there a road on a desolate hill? Huh.
到着。
Gates. A school? A massive building had been built on this once empty hill a few years ago. There was a tall, lavish gate that extended behind it. Beyond that, there was a Western-styled palace that seemed incredibly out of place in Japan. At the very least, I couldn't tell what this building was supposed to be. I should have read what the sign next to the gateway said if I was going to start drawing conclusions. Noble Private Academy. Oh, so this is a school? So this is where Noble Academy is?
ご存知？
more or less, since I do live in the city. All I knew was that it was a school for the super rich. It had only been around for a couple of years, but it had made headlines due to a decent percentage of Japan's politicians and bureaucrats sending their children here. I had heard that it was in this city, but I never knew its exact location. It was unexpectedly close by my house. Come to think of it, I guess I had heard Sylvie's name recently. Around April or so, I think. Something about a princess from some country. Was going to enroll in Noble Private Academy starting this year.
シルビア王女がさらわれただと
What a shocker! Oh, when I turned around, I discovered a woman with unquestionable might burst from the building with an ear-piercing shriek. She must not have had the time to open the locked gate and simply leaped over it instead. Wait, that gate was at least 3 meters high. As she shouted into the cell phone in her hand.
即刻市内全域を緊急隔離。この国の警察は当てにならん。キシン派ダイゼル部隊を動かせ。言い訳はいい。今そちらへ行く。待っていろ。
あら、エル、お出かけかしら。
Also her name is Elle, or Elle.
はい、シルビー様。緊急事態です。今、シルビー様がさらわれたと。は？エキスナ、ボラルコーチェ。こちら現在学園の門の前。シルビア王女がいらっしゃるのだが、私をからかったのではないのだな。わかった。お前たちは後で始末書を出すように。姫様
何をピリピリしているの？おかしなエル。
誘拐されたと聞き、心臓が止まるかと思いました。
I didn't really get it either, but if my intuition was correct, I would likely be in poor standing with this person.
貴様が誘拐犯か！
What? Swing! I was sent flying before I even had the chance to panic, thus slamming my head into the ground. My wrists were firmly bound and I was arrested. However, my eyes were left spinning the moment I had been hurled, so what did it matter? This is what I thought as my consciousness faded. All I wanted was to be golden. If there was a girl in distress, I would save her. That was the least I could do. As a result, I played into this foolish escape plan and got knocked out by a girl. You could ask for a lamer ending than that. Showing off only caused problems.
Sylvia様、シルビア・ル・クルス・クラウン、ソルティレージュ・シサー様は
I guess that's her full name, huh? Sylvia Le Cruz Crown Sortilège Sissoir.
誉れ高きソルティレージュ王国王家シスア家のご息女であらせられる。
You're a princess?
日本風に言うとそうなるわね。
ソルティレージュ国の第9王女、すなわち我が祖国ソルティレージュの司法とも呼ぶべきお方なのだが、そのことは知っていたか？
First I've ever heard of it.
そうか。
The
ではひとまず腕を取るのはやめよう。ボラルコーチェ、剣を離せ。
はい。
The old man who had practically bound me from head to toe weighed me down and backed away with his saber drawn.
もうエルったらボラルコーチェにエキスナも誤解だと言ってるでしょ？
Yeah, you tell her. It had taken every ounce of strength up until this point to not wet myself. While I was unconscious, they had tied me up and carried me into a room inside the academy. A large fraction of my earlier black-suited pursuers gathered around me in that small room with at least 100 more outside. It was probably safe to assume that there was no escape. They were likely irritated that I had shaken off such a huge force and glared at me harshly. My only ally.
彼は私が襲われていると勘違いして助けてくれた。それだけよ。
Was this girl. It was a stroke of good luck that this princess, who was under the care of these black-suited men, was on my side.
しかしシルビア王女、そう見せかけて本気でたばかる気だったかも。
あ、それはあるかも。
She wasn't very reliable, though. The leader of the black-suited men had a scary look in her eyes. And she was the only one not wearing a simple black suit, but some rather foreign-looking garb. Could it be rubber? It was pliably soft with custom-tailored seams. It was designed not to hinder her movements, yet still protected her body with its large metal plating. Wouldn't that make it armor then? Which meant that the long cylinder hanging from her waist was likely a scabbard, and that she was carrying a sword. Scary.
なんです？ジロジロと見て。
Well, was that sword legit? I wanted to ask, but was terrified of the answer.
エルは美人だから殿方は見ちゃうわよね。
シルビー様。
That wasn't really it. But yeah, I guess she was gorgeous.
紹介するわ、オーラ。こちらこの駅士のエロイナ・ディ・カバレロイスタ。エルと呼んで。
Heroina di Caballeroista, huh?
私のそうね、一番のお友達よ。
A pleasure. Heroina. Nope, let's not make fun of her name. She was carrying a blade and all. So then, Sylvia, son.
Son?
Summer, then. That was probably more formal.
そんなかしこまらなくて結構よ。気軽にシルビーと呼んでほしいわ。
Then Sylvie. Summer.
もう。
Royalty. That word sounded like it came straight out of a fantasy, but it was actually a relatively commonplace system in the world around us. We had an imperial family in Japan ourselves, and while you could call it a democracy, the politicians were all like royals who concentrated their authority under a single lineage ever since the Meiji Restoration. Sortilege was also a name that I had heard before. They were a small but powerful nation located in northern Europe and were said to wield immense clout through their trades within the EU. I had read about them on various news sites, and the royal Sortilege family were supposedly the biggest Japanophiles in Europe. There had been some talk of a princess studying abroad recently. Oh, that must have been Sylvia's son. Anyhow, that makes you a princess. Which means these guys are your bodyguards, right?
みんな私の頼れる護衛従者よ。
我らはソルティレージュ王室を代々お守りする騎士員のものだ。
Knights. Yet another word that came straight out of a fantasy. Elosan's outfit did evoke a certain knightly impression, though. Upon closer inspection, I could see how sharply dressed the black-suited individuals were. They had an orderly air to them that screamed modern-day knight. Not a single one of them looked like a kidnapper. I was a moron for jumping to conclusions.
騎士員のみんなはすごく優秀なのよ。交通網とともに外交の広がった20世紀以降ですら王室に危険が及んだことなんて一度もないくらい。
歴々の誇りを汚さぬよう我らも精進いたします。
だから私も安心なの。私は王室といっても第9王女 王位継承権にはだいぶ遠いのだけれど。
The ninth princess.
でもみんな私の護衛のために家族を国に置いて日本語までマスターしてついてきてくれたのよ。
我らはソルティレージュに忠誠を誓った者。
シルビア様のお身のためならば国境の壁などあってなきがごとく。
シルビア王女万歳。王女様万歳。
That was some impressive charisma. They all seemed to admire her, regardless of her social standing. Being a Japanese person, it didn't quite hit me that this was what royalty and guards were like. That sudden revelation only piqued my interest further. So, what happened earlier? Anyone would be concerned after their city-wide banter.
あれは。
そうでした。それも聞かないと。シルビー様、お昼休みに学園を抜け出してどこへ行かれていたのです？
Sylvia-san turned away with an uneasy look on her face. She snuck out of the academy during lunch. The royals and knights who were straight out of a fantasy suddenly uttered lines you could find in an everyday school-based manga.
確かなことは申せませんが、シルビア様が常々近くのパン屋のメロンパンに興味をお持ちでしたこと、本日突然昼食はいらぬと申し出しましたこと。
昨日そのパン屋が美味しかったと話されていた語学友の妃様と一緒に抜け出していたことに鑑みますに。
Oh, is Kisaki that girl with the twin tails?
シルビー様。
それで抜け出したシルビア様を追跡し、見つけまして戻るようお伝えしたところ、予想外に抵抗されたのでございます。
市松さんが来たのがちょうどそこですね。
I was pretty embarrassed for showing off and making a break for it at that time.
だってまだ変えてなかったんだもの。あと30秒待ってくれればよかったのに。
昼休みとはいえ学園を抜け出すこと、加えて買い食い、どちらも学則に違反します。
Couldn't you just buy it on your way home?
あのお店のメロンパンはすごい人気なの。3時を過ぎたらほぼ売り切れちゃってるのよ。
買いに行くのが難しいというお気持ちはわかりますが、だったらエキスナにでも命じればよろしいのでは。
あ、その手があったわね。
If that were the case, then why was I still being held captive and tied up into a little ball? The tremendous amount of effort being wasted in that moment left me exhausted. Well, I understand what I've done now. In a nutshell, I had shown off and barged my way into a world I was never meant to interact with. Will I be charged for kidnapping?
そうなります。ボラルコーチェ、凝結剤の用意はできていますか？腕は落としても命までは取らぬように。
Excuse me?
心得ております。
Hold on a second. I'd finally gotten a handle on the situation, but I could seriously do without the blades. The older man, especially, had his sword drawn the entire time. I understand I made a mistake, but you're in the wrong here too. I was only worried for her safety. Don't you see that?
そうよみんな。オーロはいい人だと思うわ。
It would be a huge problem if I were to lose an arm over this. I pleaded my case desperately. The black-suited guards hadn't turned on me yet, thanks to Sylvia-san backing me up, but...
ことはそう単純ではありません。
Excuse me?
我らもバカではない。誤解であろうことは分かっています。だが、あろうで判断するわけにはいかないから、現在機構の身の上を精査しているところです。
Investigating me?
現在まで入っている情報では、名前は市松王子。
Oro. The last character in my name can be read as Ro.
失敬。市松オーロ殿。
いい名前よね。
縁起が良いですな。
Orgy probably would have been an even better omen though, since that would translate with the Japanese word for prince.
おお、英語で言うプリンスを日本では王子というのだったわね。
Not that it really matters though. More importantly, I was worried how deep their investigation was going to go, especially with how much effort they were putting into comprehending the characters in my name. The documents Ellison was perusing were densely worded. It had only been around half an hour. Just how in-depth had their investigation into my private life gone?
一松往路、宗教的、経済的に特に危険思想らしき面は見られない。
Luckily, they generally seemed willing to listen to reason. They were doing their job as Sylvia-san's bodyguards by confirming I wasn't the sort of person who would conspire or abduct a member of their royal family. Looks like I was saved. I was an ordinary commoner, as utterly peaceful as could be. Just a young man, the sort you could find anywhere.
先日インターネット通販で父親のパスを使って18金のゲームを購入していますね。黒きバラの姫騎士ローザ、クッ殺せ、純真な姫は多くの種汁になど屈しない。何ですこれは。
種汁？
Royalty had some impressive intelligence gathering capabilities. 女性を凌辱することを主題に置いたゲームですな。
貴様、シルビア様に近づいた理由はそれか。
It's not like that. Being a typical young man had clearly backfired on me.
王女にその乱りがわしいことをしようという思想はあるのだろう。
I mean, on an extraordinarily generic level, but not enough that I would actually consider it. Also, it was because she was a princess knight. The princess part was a bonus. Her primary attribute was being a female knight.
Huh?
Probably shouldn't have told a legit female knight that.
貴様！
It's a huge misunderstanding.
ねえ、エキスナ、凌辱って何？知らない日本語だわ。
不明です。日本語は難しいですね。調べちゃダメですよ。
ボラルコーチェ、嫌疑はいかほどです。この男は腕を取るべきか。
Please don't.
まあまあ、落ち着いてください部隊長殿。若い男の子、これぐらいが俗というものです。
Luckily, the older man intervened.
それにこのゲーム、なかなか評判がよろしいようですぞ。ほうほう、シナリオ担当はチクタク10個。良いご趣味をされてますな。
This gentleman was pretty in the know, huh?
人気に押されてという面もございましょう。これだけで人格を判断するのはいささか乱暴かと。
まあいい。まだ嫌疑は不十分としておきます。
What was perhaps the wisdom that came with age had calmed me down.
父上の ID を使うのはいかがかと思いますがな。
I apologize for that. This too was typical for any young man.
他には特になし。
The scope of her investigation didn't appear to have turned up anything especially suspicious. She set the documents face down.
だがこれは。
She was still suspicious of me. This time her eyes started toward my confiscated belongings. Ellison searched my pockets, revealing my wallet, smartphone, house key, and
あら、チョコボーロ。
I bought those at the convenience store earlier. They were ordinary sweets.
いいわね、チョコボーロ。私も大好きよ。でも変ね。パッケージが赤いわ。
いちご味？おかしい。チョコボーロはナッツとキャラメル味しかないはずです。違法な薬の梱包にお菓子を偽ったパックを使うのは運び屋の常套手段。
Strawberry, green tea, and other flavors are regularly available in Japan. They might only export limited varieties overseas, though.
年ぶりの日本だけど知らなかったわ。ねえオーラ、お一ついいかしら。
Go ahead.
おいしい。
姫様、いけません。ペしてペン。
This was turning into more of a comedy skit by the second, but I was still all wrapped up with a gigantic saber laid beside me.
久しぶりねチョコボーロ。
昔からお好きでしたな。そういえ
ジーヤにはよく無理を言ってたくさん買ってこさせたわよね。私この子大好きなの。キュロちゃん、かわいい。
She poked at the character on the packaging, which resembled a round baby chick. It was most important that she had taken a liking to it, circumstances aside. After eating a couple of pieces, she put it back with my belongings.
ねえエル、私やっぱりどう考えてもオーロが悪い人だとは思えないわ。だってあんなに楽しかったのは初めてだもの。殿方に連れられて街を逃避行だなんて。
Whisked away! The way she put it kind of made me blush.
まあ悪い人でないというのは根拠のない直感だけど、まず彼とあんなことになったのは私が彼にぶつかりに行ったからよ。みんな見ていたわよね。
はい。
それに誘拐犯なら逃げ道くらい用意するでしょうに、私に言われた通りこの学園へやってきたのよ。それも途中から私を離して一人で走らせて。はい、これが証拠よ。
She gently lifted up the hem of her skirt and revealed her beat up, holy socks from running on the concrete.
以上、こんな愉快な誘拐犯さんがいるかしら。
That's right, that's right! Not only had she saved me, but she was offering up a well-reasoned defense while keeping her cool. Despite her absent-minded behavior, her mind remained sharp. However...
シルビア様、ですからこれはそう単純な問題ではありません。
What? Her defense sounded flawless to me. Not only was Sylvia's son batting for me, but all of the black-suited guards surrounding us were witnesses. But...
シルビア様のおっしゃることはもっともではある。思想背景の調査は途中だが、これはもう形骸的なものだと考えていい。姫騎士の件はともかく。
I apologize for that.
問題は事実として、貴公の手でシルビア様が我ら護衛を務める騎士院から強奪されたことにあります。例えば貴公が花屋から花を盗んだとしよう。わざと一輪ポケットに突っ込んで店を出た。これは紛れもなく罪です。ですが、ふと落ちた花が一輪ポケットに入ってしまい、貴公が気づかずに店を出る。これもまた罪であることに変わりはないのです。
Gah. Now that she mentioned it.
無論花屋のことであれば、気づいた時点で引き返し、現物を戻せば罪には問われまい。だが、王族に同じことをすれば、それは極刑に値します。
Well, even in Japan, I'm sure the cops would show up if someone kidnapped a little kid and turned themselves in later, claiming it was all a mix-up. I understood her logic.
我ら騎士院の伝統に従えば、王族をかどわかした者の刑罰で最も軽いものは利き腕の没収です。いかがかな？
I wish you would spare me. I get where she was coming from, but I'd sooner not have my life or arm taken from me.
私も嫌よエル。腕を取るなんて血がすごく出るわ。
シルビー様ならそうおっしゃられるでしょう。ですが、エキスナ、公安はどうなった？
The authorities?
もういいと言っても市松さんの情報をどんどん送ってくる。収まりそうにありません。あなた2週間前にもエッチなゲームを買ってるわね。やりすぎじゃない？
That's totally normal. Hey, wait a second. When you say the authorities, do you mean the police?
ああ、貴公が逃げた時、 この国の警察も同時に動いている。
貴公のしたことはれっきとした国際問題ですからな。
That made sense.
留学時の取り決めで王族に気球の事態があれば日本警察は超法規的に我々に裁量権を委ねるため現時点で貴公の身は我々に委ねられています。だがシルビア様のおっしゃる通り貴公を無罪放免とすれば今度は日本の公安が貴公を捕まえることになる。
超法規的措置を放棄するわけですからな。当然今度は日本の警察が裁きにかかるわけです。
What? This had turned into a major incident before I even knew it. Why is that?
我らが超法規的な存在、つまり日本警察の関与しない存在だからです。
でなければ公安は対面上貴公を取り囲んでいる我々を拉致暴行未遂としてしょっぴかねばなりませんからな。
True, if I were innocent, this would amount to mob violence. They would all be guilty of crimes of their own.
我々と日本警察は裁量を共通しないわけです。我々があなたを無実にしても日本警察はあなたを無実にはしません。国賓への拉致誘拐事件の容疑者、それが我々の裁量を外れた時点での日本警察にとってのあなたの立場です。
But couldn't the police also find me innocent?
なんでしょうな。あなたが国賓を捕まえて逃げたのは確かですから。
Oh.
日本の刑法には詳しくない。他国の王室に誘拐の嫌疑がかかることをしたことで貴公にどんな罪状が課せられるかは知らない。
しかし日本国の対面上国際関係を重視して誘拐犯のことは最低でもシルビア様がご卒業され国に帰るまでの間は外に出さんでしょうな。
取り調べの形でシルビア様ご卒業まであと1年半特例措置として延々交流延長し続けて罪状をどうするかはその後ね。
Please give me a break. I assumed that meant I'd be thrown in jail. My life would be harsher than a reform school, and I'd be all alone. Losing a year and a half of my life would be rough, and I definitely didn't want that to happen.
だから今困っています。腕と交流どっちがいい？
Neither! That went beyond an ultimatum. There was no way I could choose.
公安から寄せられた彼の情報が揃いましたけど、やはり問題のある思想は見られませんね。
ということはやはりあれは善意からの逃避行。我らも責めたくはないのですが。
Could you just let me go then?
外に出たら公安に捕まりますよ。
Please let me stay here. What a dilemma. I guess getting the approval of everyone here wasn't enough. With that, Sylvia-san put her fingers against her cheek and said,
エキスナ、公安の方々には何て伝えたの？
あ？正体不明の男に王女様がかどわかされたと。
そう。じゃあ、こういうのはどうかしら。
Sylvia-san popped her hands together.
オーロ、あなた、このノーブル学園の生徒にならない？
Huh?
あなたは今日転入する手はずだったの。それで私はあなたを案内してあげたのよ。正体不明の男でなくお友達なの。ジーヤたちはそれを勘違いしたで、ちょっと恥ずかしい立場になってしまうけど。
我らの恥は問題ではございません。シルビア様のお気持ち一つにございます。
じゃああとはオーロの気持ち一つね。どうかしら、オーロ。
Moving in. Wasn't this a school for the super rich? It may have been a sudden suggestion, but it was economically questionable. More than that, I wasn't in a position to really consider going to school anymore.
ダメなの？
Well, I...
腕か交流か転入です。
I will move in. When she put it that way, I had no choice but to give that immediate answer.
やった！これでオーロはクラスメートね。
Everyone around us looked a bit puzzled, but
じいや、手続きはよろしく。
Sylvia-san had already made up her mind. With that, the army of black-suited guards surrounding us.
了解しました。そのように処置いたします。
お願い。
はい。
すべてはシルビア様の望む通りに。
They dispersed, looking like they approved. It appeared that this princess's orders were absolute. Things were still a little chaotic, but it gave me peace of mind that the old man with the saber had left. Additionally, judging by her visible elation, Sylvia-san seemed much more relaxed and stress-free.
参ったな。
Later.
シルビー様、午後の授業始まっています。お早く。
はいはい。
Ellie-san urged Sylvia-san along before rushing off. Come to think of it, it was just before 2 p.m. Less than 2 hours had passed since I ran off with the princess during her lunch break. It had been a very eventful hour. It was almost nostalgic, as I hadn't been using my time wisely lately.
市松様、日本警察への伝達が済みました。外に出ても結構です。
Thank goodness. A large weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Even though I was still surrounded by men in black suits, the old man was no longer carrying his sword. Looks like I managed to escape this crisis unscathed. In exchange for moving into the school, that is. I'm gonna ask this again just to be sure, but I'm seriously going to attend the school.
手続きは私どもで済ませます。入試の類も免除していただきましょう。追っては煩わせません。
シルビア様がそう望まれ、あなたも肯定した以上、保護にするのは避けていただきたいですな。
Oof. It was a little unsettling considering how sudden all of this was, but...
まあよろしいではありませんか。年齢もちょうどのようですし。
市松様は前の学園はもう退学なさっていますでしょ？
Oh, he did? Why? Yeah. They looked into everything, huh? That was why I was strolling around town in the middle of a weekday afternoon. Sylvia-san seemed to have snuck out of school, but I wasn't attending classes in the first place.
それが労せず日本有数のエリート校に入れたと思えばむしろ得だとは思いませんか？
将来進学や就職を考えても良い工程ですぞ。日本国は出身校が特に就職に極めて重要だそうで。
They had a point. Perhaps I should start thinking about my future. I was attending the city's leading school for idiots before dropping out. Transferring to a noble academy was a huge step up. It wasn't like I had any lingering attachment to my last school anyway. Well, thank you for taking care of me all the same.
はい。明日までに転入手続きは済ませておきます。
With that, the old man's expression, which had been largely unreadable until now, broke into a broad smile.
これで先ほどの行為は明確にシルビア様によるお友達のための道案内ということになりました。追いかけ回し、まして取り調べにかけた非礼、どうぞお許しください。
Both of them bowed deeply. Wait, you don't need to do that. I knew they were just being courteous and going along with a story they'd cooked up, but it was still unsettling. However, neither of them raised their heads.
どうか謝罪をお受けください。勘違いしてシルビア様の友人を追いかけるなど我らソルティレージ騎士員の沽券に関わる恥です。
私めの若い自分であれば、こんな失態があれば当該の責任者である副長、この私めの腕を取って献上するところですが。
What?
冗談です。
He lifted his head with a laugh. That scared me. They'd mentioned something like that earlier too. If it were a joke, then I wish they'd knock it off. Were their sensitivities different from those of Japanese people?
感覚が日本人とは違うとお思いですかな？
Not at all. He saw straight through me. What a mysterious old man.
確かに感覚は違うやもしれませんな。日本人でしたら腹を切るところでしょう。
That is from a different era. That was an exaggeration, even if you went an era back. Or so I thought, but...
しかし違う感覚は文化だけ。我々も心根は日本人と、少なくともこの学園の建てられた意義と同じであることをくれぐれもご留意ください。
Sir?
あらゆる諸者諸行にはすべからく責任が伴います。人が生まれ生きる上で無駄なことなど何一つない。それがこのノーブル学園の根底だからこそ、シルビア様はご留学をお決めになった。無駄な時間などない。あらゆる時間に腕を取られ腹を切るくらいの価値を見出してくださいませ。姫様のご友人であればなおさら。
Right. He replied with a serious look on his face. I was left bewildered, unsure of what he was saying. Well, nothing is meaningless. Those words really struck a chord with me. Then...
ねえ、やっぱ遅れちゃった。
おや、キサキ様。もう授業は始まっておりますよ。
ああ、ジーヤさん、ジース。もうシルビー見つかったなら早く教えてよ。探したよ。
失礼を。しかし私どもはあなた様まで外にいることは知らない手はずでしたゆえ。
チェー。その人誰？新しい騎士さん？
編入生にございます。明日より妃様にとっても同級のご学友になられます。
The girl eyed me closely. Was she a student here too? After dealing with the princess and Lady Knight, I was under the impression only rich girls attended this school given its elite nature, but maybe she's a rich girl too. She kind of looked like an ordinary trendy girl.
あれ？自分さっき街にいなかった？
Huh?
ほら、1時間くらい前、駅前のナックでシェイク買ってたっしょ。私の前に並んでたよ。
Yeah. I was at the NCDs before running into Sylvia's son, but I don't recall anyone lining up behind me though.
覚えてるよ。平日の昼間なのに学校行ってないのかなって思って。なんだよ、電流かよ。じゃあ今日は手続き的なのだったのね。
Yeah, I guess. That was how it turned out just a short time ago. The two men in black suits were forcing a smile.
私レイナ、妃レイナね。よろ。
Yodo. Yeah, likewise. I'm Odo. Ichimatsu Odo.
オーロね、覚えた。
Lena smiled wide. Unlike the transcendently beautiful Sylvia's son or Ello, she had a cute, ordinary face filled with a Japanese charm.
授業 B は。じゃあジヤさんにオーロ、鳥間挨拶までってことで。
She gave us a quick wink and turned away.
ああ、妃様。
はい。あ。
When he called out to her, Elena quickly realized what she was holding. It'd be pretty bad if she walked into class with candy.
ああ。Hey オーロ、パス。
Hmm? She handed it over.
あげる。裾上げ？
お裾分け。
それそれ。じゃ。
And away she went. All she left in her wake was a round candy with teeth marks in it. Is it really okay for a princess to attend a school like this?
シルビア様の望んだことです。
In the end, I returned home.
この学園は全寮制ですゆえ、引っ越す準備をお願いします。必要な荷物をまとめてください。5時にお伺いします。
I'm moving in too?
規則ですので。
This drastic lifestyle change was kind of overwhelming. But
そこの君、話を聞かせてほしいんだが。
Yes?
警察のものです。
He showed me his identification.
お話はこちらでします。
ああ、どうも。
市松様は荷物をまとめてくださいね。
Yes, ma'am. Looks like I had nowhere to run. After what? When I got home, the cops had apparently talked to my parents, and they gave me one hell of a talking to. I hadn't done anything wrong and made it a priority to calm them down, and explained that the thing they were most concerned about, namely the tuition fee for attending a super rich school, was fully covered. Was that really okay? As a result, a dropout like me managed to enroll in one of the most elite schools in Japan. That aspect piqued my parents' interest. With that, I ended up packing my belongings just like I was told. Huh. What was going to happen to me going forward? Oh, who's that? I booted up my computer and opened a video file. A file containing the diva Maria Bishop. Ah, so soothing. I put the song on repeat. Starting tomorrow, well, things would work out somehow. No matter where I moved to. I'd be fine so long as I could hear this beautiful voice.